I'm Susan. Welcome to Tea and Games. The tea today is a chai called Black Masala, which I got from Tea Runners. Not a paid ad, I just really like their teas. My husband and I are casual board gamers. We usually only play on weekends, and that's why these big stacks of games is really something of a shock to me, because at the beginning of this year, for the first time, I installed board game stats and have been logging my games. Whereas before I just kind of sort of had some idea of what we played because it was recent when I did a video or something like that, but I kind of just had the impression that we didn't play very many games. And perhaps January was an unusual month, but this is what we played. I was just kind of curious. I noticed that the numbers seemed kind of awfully large in that overview screen. So I scrolled back to January and I looked and I'm kind of going like, OMG, that's a lot of games. I thought that maybe we played, I don't know, several games over the course of a month and maybe a couple of games twice. But no, in January, handy dandy notebook here because we're doing numbers. Actually, not that many numbers, mostly just games. We got in 31 plays of 14 games. And for hardcore board gamers, that's nothing. But for us, that just seems like a really big number. Of course, we kind of got an extra weekend in January in the sense that we both had January 1st and 2nd off. So that did add a few games like Silver Dagger and Skull Canyon Ski Fest and the 25th anniversary of Bonanza. We played those over those first 2 days of the year. But we also played New York Zoo, Dice Throne, Barbarian versus Moon Elf, this was our first foray into Dice Throne. Micro Macro Crime City, my husband's favorite, Carcassonne, which we tried with a couple of different expansions. Labyrinth, which we got between Christmas and New Year's on sale, which it's an old game, but we just have a lot of fun with it. It's kind of a kid's game, but that's part of what makes it so much fun. First Rat, which is this is pretty new. This is really old. Botnik. Rome. Where is my Rome? Oh, here's Rome. Canopy, which I did a video on. My previous video was the first of a series on our favorite games, and Canopy is definitely one of them. Rome is another one you will see come up in a video in the future for Fav Games. And A Gentle Rain, which is an out-of-print solo game that I really like. So yeah, this is what we did in January, and that's just kind of staggering. We got in multiple plays of most of these games. I think maybe not the first few on the list because we had played them previous to the beginning of the year, like in the week preceding the beginning of the year. But of these games, I think part of the reason why we got in so many plays of so many games is that a lot of these are small box games, and also a lot of these are all-time fave games, like Carcassonne, Rome, Canopy, Botnik, and A Gentle Rain. So, if you're playing fave small box games, then yeah, you can really stack them up. Pro tip here, if you really want to increase your numbers of games played, make your stats look better, that's the way to do it. Fave small box games. But there were some new to us games, and by new to us, I'm giving myself a little wiggle room because right there toward the end of January, the end of December, we had Christmas. We got some games for Christmas. After Christmas, there were after Christmas sales, and we loaded up a bunch of games there too, most of which we played. So, I'm kind of including December games in the new to us, even though we may have gotten the first play in before January. But there were some new to us games that we instantly loved. There were some new to us games that were sort of, we're still like trying to decide if we like it or not. And that would be Skull Canyon Ski Fest and Dice Throne. Both of those are, I mean, they're good, they're decent, but, you know, there are other games that we played that we just went, oh, this is amazing. So, you know, it's kind of like there's some of these games that sort of suffer by comparison. We should just kind of like play them right next to really ordinary games and see how they stack up. But the new to us games in which we had first place in December or January, games that we instantly loved, that would be First Rat, be the first rat on the moon. Although, something to keep in mind when you're playing this, being the first rat does not guarantee that you will win this game. So yeah, there's a lot of things that you need to take into consideration. It isn't all about being first, because you can lose the game if you just by being first. So I mean, you got to do other stuff. Okay, so first rat to the moon. Micro Macro Crime City, which we're still working our way through. I think we are about halfway through all of the scenarios, or almost halfway through. I think we may be one short of the halfway point. And Labyrinth, like I said, it's just a fun little game. I mean, very family weight. The tiles all move around the dungeon, and it's just a lot of fun. New York Zoo. We really like New York Zoo. That was one of those games that it just instantly clicked with us. And it's also one of the few polyomino games that I can win on something like a regular basis against my husband, because he's really good at polyomino. But here you've got animal management in addition to placing the polyomino tiles. And the animal management affects tile placement. So you've got to do really good with the animal management to do really good with the tile placement, and you've got to try to balance them out. So it's a fun little game, and we are having a lot of fun with it. So that was the quick overview of January. And I'm just, like I said, I'm kind of shocked at how many games we played just in the first month of the year. I don't know if I'm always going to do a this is what we played every month video, but for 31 plays of 14 games, I mean, that's just stunning for casual weekend board gamers. I mean, I feel like a lot of times we're doing good to get in, 4 games in a month or something. So I felt like crowing about this. Whee! Milliborns is a game that my husband got. It was something he played when he was a kid, and it is very, very luck-driven. If you need an easy family weight game that is very, very luck-driven card game, this would be it. Botnik is tile laying, which is a 2-player game. Also very fun. You're building like little machines and plants. First rat, be the first rat to the moon and gather up cheese and resources to go to the moon and beat all the other rats. And there are little shortcuts, and you're running through the junkyard and you're collecting comic books, and it's just adorable, but it also is just kind of a really interesting and fun game to play. Interesting not in a brain-cracking sort of way, but interesting in the sense that you just kind of got to think about it a little bit and do your thing, and it's not gonna break anybody's brain, but at the same time it will give you something to do to kind of exercise your mind in terms of what you want to do next and what would be the best strategy, what you should go for, and maybe what you should let slide. Carcassonne, we've been playing expansions added to Carcassonne, and I've done some things about some of the expansions too. And we're still trying to put together kind of an ultimate Carcassonne with favorite expansions thing. So we're still kind of like messing around with that, but we just love this game. Very simple tile placement game. Labyrinth. All the tiles in the dungeons just keep moving, and it's just so much fun. A Gentle Rain, I wish they would bring it back into print. Canopy, I did my previous video on Canopy, and it is just, look at this artwork, Vincent Dutrait artwork. and designed by Tim Eisner. And yes, the cards are just as beautiful as this cover. All of them are. And speaking of gorgeous artwork, another of our all-time faves is Rome, which is area control, area majority, head-to-head, if it's two-player combat, but it goes, not combat, but struggling over area, but it goes up to 4 players. We've only ever played it with 2, and we don't like head-to-head struggling games and being mean to each other generally, and yet we love this game. And I will do a separate, just an entire video on that. I really will, because that's one of our go-to games. We are loving the heck out of Micro Macro Crime City. And there it is, the thing I dropped. There has to be something that falls or drops in every video. Dice Throne, we're still kind of lukewarm on. We're loving the silver thing, especially my husband. He adores the silver thing. And we're also really enjoying the Bonanza card game, though another reminder that the two-player in this, the two-player duel in this is completely different from the two-player duel that you will buy separately. And this is the 25th anniversary edition and has extra cards for stuff. New York Zoo is a really terrific polyomino game. I mean, if you're looking for a zoo game that anyone can play, and that does have some interesting decision-making choices that you have to make, but at the same time can be something that the family could play, because Ark Nova is a zoo game that everyone loves but is not family weight. Highly recommend New York Zoo. You cannot go wrong with this game. Skull Canyon Ski Fest, we're still a little lukewarm on, though we enjoy playing it. The thing about it is, you play something like Skull Canyon Ski Fest next to New York Zoo or First Rat or our all-time fave games kind of things here, and you kind of go, oh. So we kind of maybe need to play it next to games that we are less enthusiastic about. Does that make sense? But that was January, and it's just amazing. We didn't do like a huge amount in terms of knocking off games from our unplayed game shelf. This one and this one and this one and this one and this one. So there were 5 games that were newish that we had gotten like around the end of January. So we didn't do too bad, but in terms of the games that have been carried over from previous years, not so much. But January was a busy month, and the beginning of February was a busy month, and that's just the way it is sometimes, which is why we really leaned very, very hard on favorite small box games, because those are our go-tos when we don't have a lot of time and we don't have a lot of energy, because we know them. We could almost play them with our eyes closed. Anyhow, this was just a little short video because I got such stunning numbers. I just had to tell somebody. And I'm going to try to get back onto a regular schedule of videos next week. Fingers crossed. Yes, maybe. Anyway, it was good talking to you, and I'll see you next time around the table. Bye.